What is a dirty little or big secret about an industry that you have worked in that people outside the industry really ought to know? The academic publishing industry is a sprawling wasteland of corruption, rife with plagiarism and crap research that gets effectively no peer review. These companies then turn around and defraud colleges by bundling their garbage purple books into library licensing agreements. So colleges wind up paying for books no one ever reads, while professors prop up their CVs with garbage publications. And garbage publishers pull in money hand over fist. It's a deep-seated problem happening at a scale you would not believe. Hello, fellow jaded former academia insider. I wish I could give this gold. The sea of bad research conceals the good research being done as well, which really sucks when trying to figure out the veracity of cited papers when you are not super familiar with that area. In some hotels, the housekeepers do something called popping the sheets. They wipe off crumbs and straighten the sheets out to make it look like they made it with fresh linen. The thing is, it just depends on the housekeeper, so no brand is immune to this. However, this is a big thing that most good managers look out for, and the employee can get fired if they are caught. Yes, I believe this. I worked in a hotel, and while we did wash the sheets and pillowcases between guests, the comforters and blankets were a different story. They were washed just twice per year, once in the spring and once in the fall. So gross. I work in D1 athletics. Some, but not all, football and basketball players are told by the athletic department which majors they can and can't take. A lot don't even choose a major, but a given one. It all has to do with the NCAA academic requirements, which are built around keeping a player eligible and have them progressing towards a degree. There are no checks for quality of the degree program they take. As a result, underpaid and overworked academic advisors who risk getting fired if a star athlete doesn't do well in a harder major take advantage of the system to keep their jobs. I am now working with NCAA athletes who want to take advantage of their scholarships to get a degree in a career they want to pursue but are being forced into wellness majors instead. Wellness is a jargon term for high school pay coach. I work in aluminium extrusion. People die every so often there, either by crushing caused by faulty stacking or human error. I remember one specific time a young man, I believe was 26, was crushed by about 3.5 tons of metal because the company I work for refused to put safety ledges where the metal would be stacked and waiting to enter the aging ovens. The FBI showed up a few days later and confiscated computers in the office with emails saying how lucky they were they could save all the metal that crushed this man to death, because the loss of that customer could cripple them. The guy's family won a lawsuit for about $250,000, but yet employers don't give a crap about our lives or safety. $250,000 is really not a lot of money for a company's negligence murdering your family member and still profiting off his death. Even though it may be a well-done comment, I worked at David's Bridal and I had a lady try on 2 dresses. A $900 dress that made her look like a fat bumpkin, and a $550 dress that looked beautiful. The lady asked me my opinion and I told her the truth. My boss was standing right behind me and fired me that day because I lost her money. Come on. This is somebody's wedding day we're talking about. That's just bad business, aside from being unkind. Everyone who oohs and ahs over the dress will ask her where she got it. Same if the dress looks unattractive. Sustained long-term business is much more valuable than one small short-term score. I used to work at a small fish market deli in the early 90s. The red snapper you are buying could be any number of different fish, but it'll be sold as snapper regardless. Name changing is pretty common since few people can tell the difference between the different species. Restoration companies don't always have your best interests at heart when you have a flood or fire. Document, document, document. I can't stress it enough. Your contents will find their way into someone else's home, be it straight up theft or falsely marked as non-restorable and jacked. Pictures, lists, go above and beyond to ensure you can back up everything at the end. Investment advisor here. Most financial advisors out there are only after commissions. Half don't know what they are doing. Find a fee-only fiduciary advisor with significant education. This is your life savings after all. I used to work for a popular clothing retail company. We were told we weren't supposed to hire people based on their looks, yet we would get in trouble for hiring unattractive people. Freight train conductor. We have to blow the horn at every street crossing. So no, When we're coming through your neighborhood at 3 AM laying on the horn, we aren't doing it to be dongs. Also, we have speed limits too. So when we're moving really slow through town holding up traffic, we aren't doing that to be dongs either. Those of you who live in apartments and student housing, anytime the internet service is included in your rent, it is because it is contracted to a nice poor media service provider with limited no other options to choose. Your speeds are dependent on what the property itself is willing to pay for their circuit. So many times I wish I could tell residents that the reason they're getting 1 Mbps during peak hours, 16+ hours a day, is because your site's circuit is maxing or saturated and that they're trying to show 100 millibars circuit amongst 400, 250 kbps per person average residents, and they're too cheap to upgrade. We're forced to give the spiel that we're working with all parties to improve your experience and cannot mention the word bandwidth anytime. The properties are our customer, not the residents technically. It's a weird love triangle of a business model, more like hate triangle in most cases. Your child may take his first step or say his first real word while at daycare, but we aren't going to tell you that. I would kind of prefer that. Makes it more special if I think I saw the first. I work on a farm. When they say you should wash your produce thoroughly at home, they are not joking. I don't wash my produce out of laziness. Am I going to die? Most actors aren't actually that good looking. They are, however, striking. They often have large and or exaggerated features which read well on camera but can be a bit off-putting in person. As a director, I look for two things during casting: charisma and absurdly pronounced features. One or the other will get people watching. Both is better. Add sex appeal and you're rich. If you're the type of person that walks into a room and everybody looks, try acting. Film is literally just a bunch of people sitting watching a more interesting person do things. Oh, and it helps if you can act. I was in a true crime show because a friend of mine killed his girlfriend, and I'm convinced they picked me as one of the people to be on the show because I have fricked up teeth. Most of the time, radio stations do not actually take requests unless it's an actual request program. The log playlist is already set for the entire day and the entire weekend as well. I'm pretty sure they only honor requests from their 20-song long track list during those times too. Hey, it's my wife and I's anniversary and our first dance was to Kokomo. Uptown Funk it is then. Might not be much of a secret, but definitely a pro tip. I worked at a well-known mortgage company around the 2008 to 2011 period, specifically in their real estate owned, the arm that sells recently foreclosed and now bank-owned properties department, which works closely with the foreclosure department. The customer service reps that you speak to know nothing, nor do they want to know anything. Their managers? Nothing. Their managers? Potentially something. If you're having an issue, always continue to escalate it. They are trained to say that they cannot give you their direct manager's contact information and that they are fully equipped to address your concerns. But I assure you, neither of those are true. Please keep pushing to escalate to a level of manager that is actually in a position to address your concerns. Demand their direct contact information and insist on follow-ups. I've seen customer service reps put people in times of crisis on hold saying that they're consulting their manager, while in actuality they're shooting the crap with their scumbag colleagues and then just informing you that their manager is not available. Blatant mistakes get ignored due to gross negligence and incompetency apathy of the staff. These are large groups of people with little to no training, sitting in a field of cubicles. The culture was that of a delinquent high school classroom. This was the only job that I could find during this time, and I left as soon as I was able. I am forever scarred by the corporation's apathy towards people during this incredibly devastating time. When every package is marked as fragile, none are considered fragile. Mechanic here. 90% of the research that I do to figure out what is wrong with a car is Google, YouTube, LPT. Become a member of a couple of forums for each of the cars that you own. You will save a lot of money and those people are there to help. And trust me, there is a forum for everything. Just Google what type of car you have and add forum to the end of the search. You have Google and YouTube. I have Google and YouTube. You also have a lift, air tools, easy access to parts, and a willingness to bust your knuckles for pay. I have none of those. I'm perfectly fine with you using Google and YouTube to diagnose and fix my car. because of all of those other things. I work in the waste hauling industry. At our recycling collection sorting facilities, the recyclables are sorted by hand on a conveyor belt. If they're in a plastic bag, they get thrown out. Too dangerous to have guys try to open plastic bags with who knows what in there. If there's some pasta sauce still in that glass bottle, thrown out. A little bit of grease on the pizza box, thrown out. The vast amount of recycled stuff gets thrown out. The key is to make sure everything you recycle is completely clean and isn't in the plastic bag. San Francisco says they recycle containers with food still in them. I think recycling facilities varies by city. Best to check with yours. On graphic design skills alone, only 10% of the entire industry actually earns over $50K. Considering the amount of money art schools charge to learn this craft, chances are you're getting hustled hard. Sorry. Don't worry when you use paper that you are killing trees. Paper mills plant trees the same way farmers plant corn. Trees aren't the problem. We have more trees now than ever. Turning paper white creates dioxin, a terrible carcinogen. No one talks about dioxin. Everyone is too distracted hugging trees to notice all the cancer. Many retail stores have days where they just destroy a bunch of old merchandise instead of continuing to try to sell it. I used to work at GameStop, and whenever the store decided not to carry something anymore, it got pennied out of the system and put in a box in the office. Every couple months our district manager would come through and get a pair of scissors. He snapped game discs in half, cut the cords off controllers, smashed toys on the ground, cut holes in shirts, and then threw everything in the dumpster out back. The RE I used to live behind would destroy products before they threw them in the dumpster, but it would always be cosmetic and really easy to fix. I got a lot of high-end gear from that dumpster. Don't waste money on an expensive coffin, the one with the air pulled out, all that fancy stuff. As soon as the soil hits him they almost always pop. AT&T uses deception as a core business practice. When I was employed there, if we didn't bring out 2+1 items, our manager would come over and do it for us, even if you were adamant about not needing the items. If the 2-year activation fee concerned you, we didn't mention it. Think you can get 4 lines for $160? Nope. You have to buy the phones on top of that price. So $160 turns into $230. Plus insurance at $10 a line. So $270. Plus taxes. But if AT&T said 4 lines for $300, you wouldn't come in their store. I quit when my manager tried to get me to sell a crappy LG tablet and an iPhone to a woman with crippling arthritis. I never felt better about leaving a job. I went into an ad store, asked for a very specific model of phone. The person there kept pushing other things on me, so I bought it online right there in the store. This was after talking to him for 30 minutes about exactly what I wanted. 0 fricks given. When you click unsubscribe in an email, they will unsubscribe you from that list, but they will add you to another because ConSpam says you have to remove someone from your mailing list if they request it, and that you have to have an unsubscribe link in your marketing emails, but it doesn't say you can't immediately subscribe them to another mailing list. I worked for a company who dealt with breast cancer awareness. Without going into full detail, I can tell you that I personally raised over $20,000 in 2 months that I know when to pay someone's salary rather than research. This is why they say you should donate to cancer research organizations, not awareness. CPA, auditor, that worked at a big accounting firm. It is extremely easy to commit extensive white-collar crime into the millions of dollars without being caught. As auditors, it is almost impossible to catch a relatively intelligent CEO or CFO, since their knowledge of the business is way more extensive than anyone auditing them. You're at their company for 3 weeks and they've been working there for 20 years. You could also create entirely fake public companies and steal investors' money for many years and never get caught. For example, you create a public mining company with a bunch of fake documents claiming that you own land in remote regions, Tanzania, Chile, etc. Nobody is going to know that they're fake. As auditors, it doesn't make sense to do a site visit because it is too expensive. Even if you did do a site visit, you have someone there with a bunch of documents and explain the area that you own. It would be so remote that it's impossible to prove who owns it. Now, your mining company has apparently $100 million in land claims. Investors pour their money in, publish a bunch of news releases, maybe a couple fake surveys indicating there's gold. You pay out consulting fees to a bunch of fake employees and you're up multi-millions of dollars every year. Worked in retail, optical, sales, lab, and management. A few of the big ones off the top of my head. 1. Don't pay for scratch-coated polycarbonate. The lenses are already scratch resistant because poly would be too soft to use if it weren't. Don't get bamboozled out of 10 to 20 bucks. 2. All major retail chains pay their employees a wage and have commission on top. 3. Your specs are marked up by an average of 400% minus 1000%. Doctors and opticians have to get paid and all, but just keep it in mind. 4. If you wear contacts and just need a pair to wear at night and to rest your eyes, you ought to just buy a basic plastic frame and CR39 lenses. Everyone will know what that means if they pretend not to leave or ask for a manager. It's the cheapest thing no matter where you go and has a great added value. Good to see out of, is pretty scratch resistant. So yeah, don't waste money. If you're gonna wear glasses more often, however, invest. The only thing about your body that a massage therapist will judge you about is if your butt is stinky. No, the slot machines don't pay out big after someone's been losing at one for a long time. Pray to RN Jesus for the big win. If yawn butthole or beated us during your remodel, I've written nasty things about you on the back of a sheets of drywall now hanging in your house. Sometimes surgeons Google how to do things while they're already in surgery. You're welcome. Well, I guess I prefer that over them just winging it. Work at a hotel. We have a thing called the C room. The C stands for curry. We are only allowed to put Indian guests into those rooms. I have an Indian roommate. His family owns a motel. They have a C room. Teachers don't actually know everything about their content. Once had a girl who was in love with Elizabeth I and all the queens during the age of absolutism. She had read biographies and documentaries and anything else she could find. Anyways, she mentioned that Marie Antoinette was related to Maria Theresa, and I don't know that, so I remarked about that. Kid in the back. It's sad when your students know more than you. Okay kiddo, you made a 55 on the last test. Fight me. The casket can't withstand the weight of 6 feet of dirt for long. It is therefore crushed along with the remains of your loved one in a matter of weeks. I also sometimes need to go down in the hole with them to fix stuff, and my respect does not extend to getting my legs crushed for a corpse. The Gravedigger. That 3-stroke $4 million house you just bought from those cookie cutter method truckers was painted with $6 a gallon paint. That's the $800,000 house my parents bought. While it looks like an expensive house, it's already falling apart after 2 years. Cheap ass appliances have all had to be replaced already. All the materials used are made to look expensive at first with no longevity. There is pee in the pool. There is always poo in the pool too. If you order multiple toppings on a pizza, you get fewer and fewer for each topping you add. I don't know if this counts, but the markup on HDMI cables is ridiculous. I worked at Best Buy for 2 years and the employee discount is 5% above cost. So every now and then, I'd see what something would cost me if I saw how expensive it was. I once saw an HDMI cable that was like $250 and it would have cost me $11. We're not technical geniuses. We just Google the problem and read you the steps over the phone. If you can wrap your head around Googling and following steps, please do not call the help desk. When your kid says the teacher hates me, parents generally don't believe it. My wife works in education and says she regularly sees teachers that have dislikes of specific kids and treat them like crap. Work in the mattress industry here. The bottom 73% of a mattress, for the most part, is garbage in a memory foam mattress. Get the cheapest concrete pose mattress you can and then go get yourself a nice mattress topper. A nice high-end topper on top of a crappy mattress will be 20-40% cheaper than a high-end mattress. There's a lot of room to move because toppers can get pretty expensive themselves. Don't be a chump. You have been visited by the chunk of good fortune. Like this post to enable good fortune for 26 minutes. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.